She was invisible to everyone that passed her, just a quiet girl mopping sweat and dust off the sealed gym floor. But the moment the commander walked in and saw the tattoo behind her ear, the entire room froze. Most people assumed she was just another civilian cleaning staff. She wore plain gray pants, a simple t-shirt, and kept her hair tied up, never speaking unless spoken to. She clocked in every morning before sunrise, swept the floors, wiped the mirrors, and mopped the gym after the trainees left. No one asked her name. No one bothered to learn her story. To them, she was just a girl with the mop. Someone who nodded politely, kept her head down, and disappeared as silently as she arrived. The gym was a loud place. Recruits grunted through push-ups. Instructors barked orders. Weight plates slammed into the floor. But she moved quietly through it all, cleaning up the messes nobody thought about. Sometimes she caught recruits staring at the calluses on her hands. The way she carried herself with perfect posture. The way her eyes scanned the room like someone trained to notice everything. But they shrugged it off. How could a janitor have the look of someone who had seen combat? She never corrected them. Inside, she carried memories far heavier than the trash bag she tied up every evening. But she buried them deep. She was here for one reason, and it wasn't to be noticed. The new recruits were rough around the edges. They were young, eager, and loud. They walked through the gym with the kind of confidence that only comes from not yet understanding what real fear looks like. One afternoon, a group of them were taking a break, leaning against the wall while she mopped near their feet. Sweat from their training still dripped onto the floor she had just cleaned. One of them smirked, careful not to miss a spot. The others chuckled. She didn't respond. She simply moved to the next tile. Another one decided to push it. Hey, what's it like cleaning up after real soldiers? They expected a reaction. A flinch, embarrassment. She simply looked at him with calm, unreadable eyes, then went back to mopping. The silence made him uncomfortable. He scoffed and looked away. Guess she's used to it. But one older instructor nearby noticed something the recruits didn't. He saw the stance, the breathing, the way she never turned her back unless she could see reflections in the mirrors. Not the behavior of someone weak, not the behavior of someone without training. Still, she kept her identity hidden. During her lunch breaks, she sat alone outside, eating quietly while recruits passed by laughing, complaining, or bragging about upcoming drills. Occasionally, she overheard them. We're getting inspected by the new base commander tomorrow. I heard he's brutal. Someone else added, good. Maybe he'll thin out the weak ones. She didn't react, but memories flickered in her mind. Faces, missions lost. She inhaled slowly, steadying her heartbeat. She knew the new commander. She knew him well. The next morning, the gym was spotless long before the sun came up. She was mopping near the far wall when the door opened, and the room snapped to attention. Commander Mason stepped inside. Tall, sharp-eyed, the kind of man who could silence a room with one look. Years of leadership had etched lines deep into his expression, but his gaze was still clear and watchful. He walked the line of recruits, inspecting their posture, their haircuts, their discipline. Then he suddenly stopped. The gym had gone silent. He was staring at her. She kept mopping, pretending not to notice, but he wasn't looking at her face. His eyes were locked on the tattoo behind her left ear, a small black emblem. Simple, but unmistakable. Only one class of operatives wore it, the kind whose missions didn't appear on paper, the kind who belonged to the military before the military acknowledged they existed. Recruits followed his gaze, finally noticing the mark. What is that? One whispered. Commander Mason stepped toward her. His voice dropped low, but not unkind. I never thought I'd see someone from that unit again. The mop paused in her hands. She still didn't look up. The room was dead silent. She finally spoke quietly. Good to see you too. Sir, Mason exhaled slowly. You're not supposed to be here, she continued cleaning. Here is quiet. The recruits looked confused. One dared to ask, "Sir, who is she?" The commander ignored the question. Instead, he addressed her directly. "They told me you left the field." I didn't believe it. She didn't answer. Her eyes focused on the reflection in the polished floor. Finally, she admitted, "I made a promise." Mason studied her carefully. A promise to whom? To the ones who didn't come back. That made the room feel colder. Mason turned to the recruits. She was not just a soldier. She was one of the best field intelligence operatives this country ever produced. Recruits stared in disbelief. He continued, 9 years, 16 deployments, 0 failed missions. She completed objectives entire units couldn't accomplish. One recruit gulped, "But she works here as janitorial staff." Mason nodded. "That's because she requested it. After losing her team in an extraction gone wrong, she asked for a job where she could stay near the military without having to fire a weapon again." Her grip tightened on the mop handle. Her voice steadied. Silence can be healing. Mason stepped closer, his voice soft but firm. It can also be hiding. She finally looked up at him, and in that brief glance, every scar she carried showed in her eyes. Pain, loss, duty. Mason spoke to the recruits, his tone hardening. "You talk about being warriors, yet she already paid the price you can't yet imagine." Number. One dared respond. No one looked at her the same way again. The next days were different. Recruits greeted her with respect. Some even asked questions quietly, hoping she'd share advice. At first she refused. She had buried that part of her life. She didn't want to be a leader again. But one evening, she found a young recruit practicing drills alone after hours. His movements were clumsy, his breathing uneven. He didn't notice her until she spoke softly. "Your shoulders are too tense. You're expending energy you'll need later." He froze. "Ma'am, you saw that?" She nodded. Double quotes, "Fear makes people rigid. Calm comes from accepting risk, not denying it." He stared at her, absorbing every word. Nobody ever explained it like that. She adjusted his stance gently. Balance first. Power second. He tried again. Better this time. She watched quietly. The next evening, 2 more recruits trained late, and she helped them too. Not because she had to, but because something inside her had begun to thaw. "Commander." Mason walked from the doorway. "You could teach a class." She shook her head. "I'm not that person anymore." "Maybe not, but maybe you're something stronger now." She didn't answer. But she didn't walk away either. Weeks passed. She still mopped the floors before dawn. But now when recruits passed her, they nodded respectfully. A few sought quiet advice. Some just thanked her. The gym no longer felt like a place she was hiding in. It felt like a place she still belonged to, just in a different way. One morning as she finished her shift, Mason approached again. "We're opening a mentorship program for recruits who struggle in silence. They need someone who understands the weight of what they're walking into, someone who survived it and learned how to live again." She looked down at the worn mop handle in her hand. She wasn't sure she wanted the responsibility, but she also knew something undeniable. The world didn't need her old self. It needed the version that learned to carry pain without letting it consume her. She looked at Mason and nodded. "Once, I'll try." He smiled, not as a commander, but as someone who understood how long that answer had taken to form. That's all anyone ever needed. She walked back into the gym for the first time in a long while. She didn't feel like she was just cleaning up after others. She felt like she was building something new. What did this story make you feel? Where are you watching from? Subscribe to Soul Relief Stories for more real stories that heal the heart.